mail-order bride ran away until the cowboy gave her the freedom no man ever did. The town of Red Hollow sat quietly under the wide, open sky. Dust rolled through its streets with the wind, and the wooden buildings stood old but proud. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other, and where strangers were noticed right away. Clara Whitmore arrived just before sunset. She stepped down from the small stagecoach with a single suitcase in her hand. Her dress was simple but clean. Her hair was tied neatly, and her eyes held a mix of hope and nervousness. She looked around, taking in the town that she prayed would give her a fresh start. But the moment her boots touched the ground, she felt it. The stares. People paused in their conversations. A few women standing near the general store whispered behind their hands. A man sitting outside the saloon glanced at her, then quickly looked away. It wasn't loud or open, but it was clear. Clara was not what they expected. She took a slow breath and straightened her shoulders. She had felt this before, in other towns, in other places. Still, she told herself, this time will be different. Clara walked toward the boarding house at the end of the street. The sign outside read, "Rooms available." That gave her a little comfort. Inside, the place smelled of fresh bread and old wood. A middle-aged woman stood behind the counter, wiping her hands on an apron. She looked up as Clara entered. "Good evening," Clara said softly. "I was hoping to rent a room." The woman looked her up and down, not in a friendly way, but in a careful, judging way. "All rooms are taken," she replied quickly. Clara blinked in surprise. "Oh, I saw the sign outside." "Hasn't been updated yet," the woman interrupted. "Sorry." Her tone wasn't truly sorry. Clara nodded slowly. "I understand. Thank you anyway." She turned and walked back outside, her grip tightening slightly on her suitcase. Across the street, a man leaned against a wooden post outside the saloon. His name was Cole Dawson. He had been watching the whole exchange without meaning to. Cole was known in Red Hollow as a quiet cowboy. He kept to himself, did his work, and didn't get involved in town matters. But something about the new woman caught his attention. It wasn't just the way people looked at her. It was the way she kept going. Clara didn't stop after the boarding house. She tried the bakery next, then the tailor's shop. Each time she asked politely if they needed help or had work. Each time the answer was no. Some were kind but distant. Others didn't even try to hide their discomfort. Clara could feel their eyes following her, measuring her, deciding she didn't belong. Still, she didn't complain. She simply nodded, thanked them, and moved on. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, the town had grown colder, not just in temperature, but in feeling. Clouds gathered in the sky, dark and heavy. The wind picked up, carrying dust through the streets. Clara stood alone near the edge of town now, her suitcase resting at her feet. She looked up at the sky, then back at the quiet buildings. For a moment, her strong expression faded. She was tired, not just from the journey, but from trying again and again, only to feel the same quiet rejection. A drop of rain fell, then another. Soon, a light storm began. People rushed inside, closing doors and windows. The streets emptied quickly. Clara picked up her suitcase again and walked back toward the center of town, hoping, just hoping, someone might offer help. But doors stayed closed. Lights flickered behind windows, but no one came out. She stopped under a small overhang near the saloon, trying to stay dry. The rain grew heavier, tapping loudly against the wooden roofs. Across the street, Cole Dawson was still there. He had stepped under shelter as well, arms crossed, watching the rain fall. But his eyes kept drifting back to Clara. She stood alone, holding her suitcase close, trying not to shiver. Cole frowned slightly. He had seen many people come and go in Red Hollow. Most didn't last long if they didn't fit in. And Clara? She clearly didn't. But she hadn't argued. She hadn't gotten angry. She had just kept trying. The rain poured harder. Clara looked around once more. No one was coming. No place was open to her. She slowly sat down on her suitcase, her shoulders slightly slumped now. For the first time since arriving, she looked unsure. Cole shifted his weight. He wasn't the kind of man who got involved in other people's problems. It was easier that way, simpler. But something about this felt wrong. He glanced at the closed doors, the empty street, the woman sitting alone in the rain. Then he looked away, then back again. He let out a quiet breath. For a moment, he hesitated. Then, finally, Cole pushed himself off the wall and stepped into the rain. Clara didn't notice him at first. She was staring at the ground, lost in her thoughts. His boots stopped a few steps in front of her. She looked up, surprised. Cole stood there, hat low over his eyes, rain dripping from the brim. He didn't speak right away, as if choosing his words carefully. Clara blinked, unsure. And in that quiet, rain-filled moment, the cowboy who never got involved made a choice he didn't fully understand yet. He wasn't going to walk away. The rain continued to fall as Cole stood in front of Clara. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. The sound of raindrops hitting the ground filled the silence. Clara slowly stood up, holding her suitcase tightly. She wasn't sure what this stranger wanted. Most people in this town had already made their feelings clear. Cole cleared his throat softly. He was not used to talking much. "You don't have a place to stay," he said, his voice calm but unsure. Clara hesitated, then nodded. "No, I tried, but—" She didn't finish her sentence. Cole glanced toward the empty street, then back at her. Storm's not stopping anytime soon. Another pause. Then he said, "You can stay at my place, just for the night." Clara's eyes widened slightly. She had not expected that. She studied his face carefully. He didn't look dangerous, just quiet, serious, maybe even a little nervous. "You don't even know me," she said gently. Cole gave a small shrug. "Town doesn't know me much either." That made Clara pause. She looked at the rain, then at the closed doors around her. She had no other choice. After a moment, she nodded. "All right, thank you." Cole picked up her suitcase before she could protest. "It's not far," he said, already turning to walk. Clara followed him through the wet streets. The town looked even more silent now, almost like it was watching them leave. They walked for a few minutes until they reached the edge of Red Hollow. Cole's cabin stood alone, surrounded by open land. It was simple, made of wood, with a small porch in front. Inside, the cabin was clean but plain. A table, 2 chairs, a small stove, and a bed in the corner. It wasn't much, but it was warm. Clara stepped inside slowly, looking around. "It's nice," she said honestly. Cole placed her suitcase near the wall. "It's enough," he replied. He moved to the stove and added more wood to the fire. Soon, the cabin felt warmer. "You can take the bed," he said. "I'll stay out here." Clara shook her head quickly. "No, I can't take your bed." Cole didn't argue much. "We'll figure it out," he said simply. For the first time that day, Clara felt a small sense of relief. Later that night, they sat across from each other at the table. Cole had made simple food, bread and beans. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm. Clara smiled slightly. "Thank you for all of this." Cole nodded. "You're welcome." They ate in silence at first, but it wasn't uncomfortable. After a while, Clara spoke. "You don't talk much, do you?" Cole gave a faint smile. "Not really." "That's all right," she said. "I talk enough for 2 people sometimes." That made Cole look at her again. There was something light in her voice, even after the day she had. "You've been through this before," he said. Clara paused, then nodded slowly. "Different towns, same feeling." Cole didn't ask more, but he understood enough. The fire crackled softly as the rain continued outside. Over the next few days, Clara stayed at the cabin. The storm passed, but she didn't leave right away. She still had nowhere else to go. Each morning she offered to help. She cleaned, cooked, and even tried to fix small things around the cabin. At first, Cole wasn't used to having someone there. His life had always been quiet and alone. But slowly, things began to change. The cabin felt warmer, not just because of the fire. Clara would hum softly while working. Sometimes she talked about small things, like the sky, or the way the wind sounded at night. Cole found himself listening. One afternoon, Clara stepped outside and looked at the open land. "It's peaceful here," she said. Cole stood beside her. "That's why I stay." She glanced at him. "Don't you ever get lonely?" Cole didn't answer right away. "Sometimes," he admitted. Clara nodded, understanding more than he expected. Days passed, and their conversations became easier. Clara laughed more. Cole spoke a little more. It was simple, but it mattered. But not everyone in town stayed silent. People had noticed. A woman from the bakery saw Clara walking near the edge of town. A man from the saloon saw Cole buying extra supplies. Whispers began to spread. "Did you hear? That new girl is staying with Cole Dawson. That doesn't look right. Something's not proper about it." The quiet judgment returned, stronger this time. One evening, as Clara and Cole sat outside watching the sunset, Clara noticed something. People passing by didn't greet them. Some looked away quickly. Others stared too long. The same feeling from her first day returned. She lowered her gaze. Cole noticed. "They've been talking," he said. Clara gave a small, sad smile. "They always do." Cole's jaw tightened slightly. He didn't like it, but he also didn't know how to stop it. "I don't want to cause trouble for you," Clara said softly. "You're not," Cole replied. But the truth was, things were changing. The town was watching now, and not in a kind way. That night, as Clara lay awake, she stared at the ceiling. For the first time since coming to the cabin, she felt unsure again. Maybe this place wasn't different after all. Maybe it was just the same story, starting again. And outside, in the quiet darkness of Red Hollow, the whispers only grew louder. The whispers in Red Hollow did not stop. In fact, they grew louder. Everywhere Clara went, she could feel it again. The same quiet judgment, the same cold distance. Only now, it was heavier. Not just about her, but about Cole, too. One morning, Clara walked into town alone. She wanted to try again. She believed that maybe, just maybe, if she kept showing kindness, people might see her differently. The streets looked the same as always. Dust moved with the wind. The shops stood in their places. But the feeling had changed. It was colder now. Clara stepped into the general store. The bell above the door rang softly. The shopkeeper looked up, then froze for a second. "Oh, it's you," he said. Clara gave a polite smile. "Good morning." She picked up a few small items and placed them on the counter. The man rang them up quietly. No smile, no small talk. As she reached for her coins, she heard voices behind her. Two women stood near the door. "She's still here," one whispered. "And staying with him," the other replied softly. Clara's hand paused for a moment. She heard every word, but she didn't turn around. Instead, she finished paying, picked up her things, and walked out calmly. Outside, she took a deep breath. Her heart felt heavy. Back at the cabin, Cole was fixing a broken fence. He looked up as Clara approached. "You okay?" he asked. Clara nodded, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "It's nothing," she said, but Cole could tell. Something was wrong. That evening, they sat by the fire again. The room was quiet, but not peaceful like before. Clara stared into the flames. "I think I should leave," she said suddenly. Cole looked at her, surprised. Why? I don't belong here, she said softly. And now, people are looking at you differently too. Cole shook his head. I don't care what they think. But I do, Clara replied. Not for me, but for you. Cole stood up, pacing slightly. He wasn't used to this feeling, this frustration. You didn't do anything wrong, he said. Neither did you, Clara answered, but that doesn't change how they see things. Silence filled the room again. Clara looked down at her hands. I've been through this before. It always ends the same. Cole stopped walking. He didn't want that. For the first time in a long while, he cared about someone staying. The next day, news spread through town about a gathering at the town square. It was something the townspeople did often, sharing news, talking about problems, making decisions. Clara didn't plan to go, but Cole did. Come with me, he said. Clara hesitated. I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe it is, Cole replied. After a long pause, she agreed. The town square filled slowly. People stood in small groups, talking quietly. When Clara and Cole arrived together, the talking didn't stop, but it changed. Eyes turned toward them, whispers followed. Clara felt it again, but this time she didn't lower her head. She stood beside Cole. The town leader, an older man named Mr. Hargrove, stepped forward. We're here to talk about certain concerns in our town, he said. His eyes moved briefly toward Clara and Cole. A few people nodded. One woman stepped forward. This town has rules, traditions. We can't ignore them. Clara felt her chest tighten. Cole stepped slightly forward, but Clara gently touched his arm. She took a step ahead instead. The crowd grew quiet. Clara looked around at all the faces, some cold, some curious, some unsure. Her voice was calm when she spoke. I didn't come here to cause trouble, she said. I came here for a chance. No one interrupted. I asked for work. I asked for a place to stay. I treated everyone with respect. She paused. But you judged me before you even knew me. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Clara continued, her voice steady. I may not look the way you expect. I may not fit into your idea of who belongs here. She lifted her chin slightly. But that doesn't make me less worthy of kindness. Silence spread across the square. Even the wind seemed to slow. I'm not asking all of you to accept me, she added, but I won't apologize for who I am. Her words were simple, but strong. For the first time, some faces in the crowd softened. Not all, but some. Cole watched her quietly. There was something powerful in the way she stood there, calm, honest, unafraid. Mr. Hargrove cleared his throat but said nothing. The meeting slowly ended after that. People walked away in silence, thinking. Some still whispered. Others didn't. That night, back at the cabin, Clara packed her suitcase. Cole stood by the door, watching. You're still leaving, he said. Clara nodded slowly. I said what I needed to say, but I don't think this place will change. Cole stepped closer. It already is, he said. Clara looked at him. Cole took a breath, as if gathering courage. That night, when I saw you sitting in the rain, he began, I couldn't walk away. Clara's eyes softened slightly. I've spent years keeping to myself, Cole continued, not caring about anyone, not letting anyone in. He looked directly at her. But you changed that. Clara didn't speak. Her suitcase sat beside her. The decision was still in front of her. Leave or stay. And for the first time, it wasn't just about the town anymore. It was about something deeper, something she didn't fully understand yet. The cabin was quiet that night. Clara stood near the door, her suitcase resting beside her. Cole's words still echoed in her mind. The fire burned softly, filling the room with a warm glow, but her thoughts felt unsettled. She had been ready to leave. It was easier that way. It always had been. But this time, something felt different. Cole stood a few steps away, his hands at his sides. He wasn't trying to stop her anymore. He had said what he needed to say. Now, the choice was hers. Clara looked around the cabin slowly. It was simple, small, not perfect. But it was the first place in a long time where she had felt even a little at peace. Her eyes moved to Cole. "You really don't care what they think?" she asked quietly. Cole shook his head. "I used to. Not anymore." Clara gave a small, thoughtful nod. "I've spent so long trying to fit into places that never wanted me," she said. "I thought if I kept trying, maybe one day it would work." She paused. "But maybe I've been looking at it the wrong way." Cole didn't interrupt. Clara took a deep breath. "I don't need the whole town to accept me," she said. "I just need a place where I can be myself." Her voice was calm now, stronger than before. She looked down at her suitcase, then slowly pushed it away from the door. "I'm not leaving," she said. Cole blinked once, surprised, but a small smile appeared on his face. "Good," he said simply. That night, for the first time, Clara slept without doubt in her heart. The next morning, the sun rose bright over Red Hollow. Clara stepped outside the cabin, feeling the cool morning air. The land stretched wide and open in front of her. It didn't feel lonely anymore. It felt free. Cole joined her, handing her a cup of coffee. "What now?" he asked. Clara smiled slightly. "Now, I start living." She decided to return to town, not to ask for approval, but to build something of her own. At first, nothing changed. People still stared. Some still whispered. But Clara didn't stop. She began helping where she could, carrying water for an older man, fixing clothes for a young girl, offering a kind word to anyone who needed it. She didn't force herself on anyone. She simply showed up. Day by day. Slowly, small things began to shift. One afternoon, the same shopkeeper from the general store greeted her first. "Morning," he said, a little awkwardly. Clara smiled. "Good morning." Another day, one of the women who had once whispered about her asked quietly, "Do you sew dresses too?" Clara nodded. "Yes, I do." The woman hesitated, then said, "I might need help, if that's all right." "It is," Clara replied gently. Not everyone changed. Some people still kept their distance, but others began to see her, not as someone different, but as someone kind, someone real. Cole noticed it too. From a distance, he watched Clara walk through town with more confidence now. Her steps were steady, her head held high. She wasn't trying to belong anymore. She already did, in her own way. One evening, as the sun set over Red Hollow, Clara and Cole stood side by side near the cabin. The sky was painted in shades of orange and gold. "It's not perfect," Clara said, looking toward the town. Cole nodded. "It never will be." Clara smiled. "That's all right." She turned to him. "Thank you for that night," she said. "If you had walked away..." Cole shook his head. "I couldn't." Clara's eyes softened. "And I'm glad you didn't," she said. They stood there in comfortable silence. No pressure, no expectations, just understanding. In the days that followed, Red Hollow didn't change all at once. There was no big moment, no loud apology, but something quiet had begun. People thought a little more before judging. They spoke a little kinder. And slowly, the town became a place where not everyone had to be the same to belong. Clara didn't need their approval anymore. She had found something better. A place where she could stand tall. A place where she was seen. A place where she was enough. And beside her stood a quiet cowboy who, on one rainy night, made a simple choice and changed both their lives forever.